that? Oh God, I'm gonna die. I gotta get this on camera. No. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Marino Show. I'm your host, David Marino, and I'm very happy to have my guest today. I have Mystic Matt and Master Tony. Their business, which is located in Corpus Christi, Texas, is called Elements, Realms, and Beyond. It's a metaphysical shop that specializes in handcrafted oils, fixed candles, and metaphysical services. There's a lot to talk about here. Thank you both for joining me. I'm so happy to have you.
No problem. Thank you for having us. We appreciate this.
Well, full transparency, I have to say we all met through a common pop star, Debbie Gibson, because I know, Matt, you're a huge fan, and Tony, I've met you at a few of her shows, but that's how we kind of all were brought together through music and going to her shows. And so I also love that within your business and on your website, I see some little nods to Debbie with anything is possible. And, you know, you had something else on there today.
More than a nod.
Yeah, more than a nod. But I just have to say, you know, I've been watching you kind of, you know, on social media and watching what you both have been doing with your business. And, you know, I think it's great to see like where you were and where you're going, you know, what you've done and where you're going. So I wanted to bring you on just to talk about Elements,
Sure.
Realms, and Beyond. And you know, what inspired you to really start this business?
What inspired me was, let's go way back. In most cases, like when you're in a Latin family, you know, you have your elders, whether it's a grandmother's or your aunts, someone they go see, some type of a spiritual shaman or reader. And I always gravitated to that. I'd go into at the stores and then I would just be in awe. Like I felt right at home. And as an 8, 9-year-old, you know, I'm watching cartoons like Superman and all these superheroes with special powers. And I'm like, wait, well, I can hear things, I can see things. And back in the day, into the 70s and the early 80s, like you were considered just kind of crazy, you know, if you spoke out about those things. But then I saw Poltergeist with Carol Ann, and I resonated so much with that character. And then when part two came out and it all made sense, I'm like, oh, I think this is what it is. And by that point, I was already kind of having my own mentor. I go with that individual and kind of learn what all this meant. So I knew from the get go, like I wanted to help people, you know, one soul at a time, you know, with the gift that I was given when I realized like it's actually a very special thing that I have.
And now I know you do tarot readings. Tell me some of the things that, and Tony, you can chime in as well. Some of the things that your business provides to your customers, because it's a menu of options. There's really something for everybody, right?
Correct. Well, like you mentioned, there's a tarot readings, and you know, I guess most of us do know that it's where you kind of divine what's coming ahead or what's happening currently, or even in the past with tools. In this case, cards. I myself, I am a medium, so I naturally just read all kinds of energy, whether the person is alive, deceased, or energy in objects, what have not. So that's where two services are at: tarot readings, mediumship readings.
Yep.
Tony is a Reiki master, so also using his innate gifts to kind of take care of that energy. And after he finishes the session, he tends to talk to the individual about things that he saw, what he felt, and pretty much it almost becomes a reading. They kind of
Correct.
validate, like, oh my God, like, how did you know? And you're correct, or I almost forgot about that memory. There's traumas there that usually we all have, whether we're young or older, and sometimes we don't realize that we get traumatized by things we see on TV or an accident on the road, and we internalize that energy, and it kind of messes up the circulation of that chakra.
If y'all have no idea what Reiki is a Japanese energy healing practice where energy is transferred from the practitioner to the person that is doing the Reiki service. So it's all about healing.
Yeah, one of my friends just did it and she told me I should do it. She said it was a very unique experience. And I saw on the website, Tony, that you can, I guess there's different ways you can do it. You can use rocks, right? Can you kind of dig into that a little more?
Yes, you can use stones. Stones basically, there's different types of stones that have different properties that aid to the ailments of whatever is going on. But for a specific like energy release, you would need a practitioner to be able to do that for you. So we combine both of them so that it's doing two things at one time.
Are people ever, because you know that for some people that's an area of that they're not familiar with, you know, the kind of services that y'all provide. Are people ever a little apprehensive and then walk out feeling completely opposite?
Usually we have the men, the males are usually the not totally skeptical, but just like, well, what is this all about? I'm opening up myself to these guys or these people, and they're not too sure. But yeah, definitely once they have the session done, they're almost a completely different person and very positive. Like they start talking to whoever's here with them, or to Tony and I, like if we've been best friends for 30 years, like
Yeah.
there's so much weight lifted off, energy lifted off their bodies, physical bodies, that we see that change, and they're believers.
It must be good to see like that your work has a direct impact on people's being, because I think especially in the time we're in now, while some things have gotten better in life, there are other things that are hard for people these days. And I think there are a lot of people walking around that are hurt and they're holding on to things. And it could be they can't pay their bills, to it could be trauma from childhood. And navigating that in a world that is not calm, I feel is very, very trying for people. Have you kind of, without giving, you know, your customers, because it's privacy, but
Yes.
are those just some of the things that people kind of come to you with, that it's just overwhelming? Because
Yeah,
I know myself, sometimes I walk out and just like, what is going on in the world, man? Like it's just,
yeah.
it's, life is hard enough without all the exterior things sometimes.
Absolutely, and just that word, that phrase, the exterior, without the exterior, when they come in, they realize after the reading it's much more than telling the future. It's not about the future. It's about, again, a guide to what's coming up. It's about a guide to what's happening now, and a guide to why what happened in the past. And because of COVID, again, I've always known I wanted to help people in this capacity, but when COVID happened and we were having all these, what was going on. It's like, what, let me do this. I started online, and then I gradually went, to the trade center in a small little spot. As soon as, the COVID open or pandemic, we were able to go out, and in less than 3 or 4 years, we're here now. But we do take it very seriously. We're authentic about it. We're very careful about the words we choose when we're communicating with the customer, for the reading, because of course words, the tone, it's almost like we're, doctors. We're not doctors, or therapists, but we're some type in that manner, in that aspect, and we just have to, I at least try to make sense of everything
Yes.
that's going on the exterior for them, and they're just having those, oh, like aha moments, even having to do with other energies, like when there's a full moon, or there is a solar eclipse of the sun or the moon, Mercury retrograde, Pluto retrograde, all these energetic aspects that we think doesn't really happen. It's just not true. It's true. It's like, why do we use perfume and cologne? To attract the opposite, sex. That's aromatherapy right there. So oils, um, perfumes, herbs, and spices, they're all used for their energetic properties to attract and repel, whatever energy.
How did your business bring you two together? Because
That's a funny story. I was always that guy who, because I was raising my daughter, like I would be invited to go out. Let's go to the bar. Let's go to the club. Let's go to the movies. I'd be like, nah, 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 nah. I have to be responsible, and I'd still go. The last one was a friend of mine from San Antonio who came down for his birthday, and we celebrated. Was supposed to come down for mine, but he passed on, and I had been invited to an event that by someone that had invited him as well. So I went. I'm like, so and so would have wanted me to go out. He would have been nudging me, do it, do it. And our mutual friend just wound up having to, what's the word, socialize, and I guess what's the
He
word?
had to be the life of the party.
Yeah. So he kind of left us. We're like we started talking like, hey, what's up? And we exchanged numbers, and yeah, we knew off the bat that we were very much in tune and alike. And the part of it didn't happen till months later.
He invited me to his shop, and I didn't know what it was. And he didn't know that I had a background in spiritual practices as well. So we kind of just like connected from there.
It was divine timing.
so I see a lot of things behind you, some of the merchandise in your store, from books to candles, to oils. If people come to your store, what are some things that they can find there? What can you help them? What can you just give me like a rundown of all
Oh
the
my
different
gosh,
things?
sure.
I know there's a lot. You don't have to do
It's
everything.
grown. Initially, it was just the oils, fixed candles, incense, things of that sort, books. But then we grew into having resale clothing and new clothing, Vampire Freaks, Spiral Direct. Uh, we're now carrying cosplay wigs and caps and crystals and jewelry. It's just everything, metaphysical, but at the same time, we've got kind of like a little resale alternative fashion, boutique. And of course, the books, some do with metaphysical aspects. Other books are, of course, we all know Jordan Kelly, who was here last weekend signing. Again, Debbie comes up, met her through, Debbie Gibson, and wonderful, wonderful ladies, her and Daisy Lee. So that's got books, and it'll grow. Got purses, um, canvas prints.
We're trying to make it a one-stop shop for everybody. So a little bit of everything, honestly.
But everything having to do with energy.
Yes.
Because even clothing, it makes people feel a certain way.
We have a lot of colorful clothing.
And one of the things I really notice about your page, like your Instagram or website, or specifically Instagram, because I'm usually on that more. I'm older. I'm not a TikTok person, whatever. But anyway, I love that a lot of what you do, whether it's the clothing or the people that you kind of show at the different events that you even hold, it's very much a safe space for everybody. It's very inclusive, and even the bodies that you're showing, not everybody looks like, yeah, you have some chiseled people, but then you have people who just, not everybody, you're representing everyone. And I appreciate seeing that, because you don't always see that with advertising for a business. It's usually a very specific look, man or woman. There's conventional beauty, what people consider beautiful. But what I appreciate that y'all do with your merchandise is that you don't subscribe to that sort of belief. Could you expand more upon that? Because I find that to be very, it seems like an obvious thing that people would do, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not. For example, we did expand on um, sexual, like sexy clothing for men and for women. Corpus Christi is really doesn't have that. There's no other store, as we've been told by customers, like this in town. And we realized a long time ago that, sex is also energy. You have to have a balance there. It's the sacral root, it's the chakra. So again, yeah, we carry, Victoria's Secret has her secret. Elements from Beyond. We have the secret for men. We have Jocmail. We carry Andrew Christian,
Yes.
Breedwell, as well as other brands for men and for women. And we educate them. It's not all about
Yes, we wanted to make sure that we had a store for all body types
For all
because we're
body types.
super body positive. And regardless of gender, he, they, she, her, we wanted to cater a little bit to everybody and just make sure that everybody had their part.
and yeah, that they're welcome here, and there's no shaming. There's no. It's a safe space.
What have you heard from, your regulars or new people who've come in? Have they noticed that? Have they taken notice of that? And what kind of stories do you hear from them when they come in and, they take advantage of your services? I mean, I'm sure you've heard some very personal things because just the nature of what you both do is very vulnerable for people. And I'm kind of like a person that has like, I put the walls up. So is that I mean, I imagine that you have to be proud that you probably hear some really great stories. Can you share anything?
Yes, that I was once like you. I did have my, walls up and would only allow certain things out. But, that Gemini custom me, was also the performer. So I learned over the years to be open and be in front of people. One of the customers, and it's hard when you have to be one-on-one with somebody and you're letting them know things that you shouldn't know.
Yeah.
He had a reading with me at the Trade Center over a year ago, and he'd been wanting to come see me again, but I'd moved, and I guess his daughter, they just didn't get the memo out on time. Um, and so he had passed on and did not get to see me again. So his daughter came a few months back earlier this summer, and I was at the Trade Center, and there's a gentleman who had a heart attack, and he fell. He kind of cracked his head, and I was there to help. Well, some other gentleman went to go help that gentleman, and she brought me up, and he knew who I was and where I was located. Again, divine intervention there, gave her my information, and her and her husband came to personally say thank you, that her father had been wanting to see me, but they couldn't find me, that I had changed his life, I had put him at peace. He had been so stressed out, did not know he was going to pass, but that it was such an incredible experience that he just, everything he had been going through, he was just at peace. And then for him to pass on a few months later, and for her to come to tell me like over a year later, was just an amazing experience. I started crying because it's exactly what I'm here to do. I was being validated by her and her husband. And I think I even made a video and I posted it on the Instagram, because that's how profound it was. Like, just to be able to affect one soul, for the whatever life yet remaining. That's what it was all about. Authenticity and being real.
What kind of events do you guys have? It looks like it runs the gamut. You sort of have a lot of different things you take
Yes.
part in.
It's just because, again, well, as many people know, there are tons of market days out there in almost every city, every weekend, and they're all themed or for specific purpose. Ours is just, again, we're trying to let people know that we are here for the community, that we are a safe space. It is for everybody. So whether we're having a haunted Hollywood back in October with drag performances and a rave DJ and having people come out dressed up like their favorite, silver screen, icon. I was Nosferatu from the old school. That made it fun. This time around, we had Jordan Kelly and more performers, a fire performer. He
Yes.
performed. It was more of a, well, again, Debbie influence, Jingle Those Bells. We kind of went a little bit naughty there, but great little contests like the hula hoop. We had them with, Christmas bells, and they had to like hula hoop the longest to win a prize, or guess what's in Santa's sack.
Just fun little tidbits.
Fun tidbits. But Jordan's books went along with the theme because she does write erotica, and the LA Lovers books, those novels, they deal with that, and the last two dealing with BDSM. And of course, we've seen lots of that in horror movies, even, so and and he knows a lot about the community, and
I
he
guess this is my
educates.
part, right?
I want you to be open and talk about, what y'all do. And I think it's also important to, there are always things that are taboo, whatever. But what I appreciate about what you all do is that you put it out there, you're open about it. There's no shame. There's
Exactly.
it's because there are a whole group of people that have different lifestyles. And I appreciate that you both are embracing that and giving them a place to feel
It's safe
welcome.
space.
So tell me,
For sure.
Tony, about kind of your part of it.
Sure. So basically, I've been in the leather kink BDSM type community going on 15 years already. So I also wanted to tie in that a little to the store because that is a type of energy exchange. A lot of people don't see it that way. They see it as taboo and stuff, but it is a literal energy exchange of what happens in a dungeon, things like that. It's never like sexual in nature, like the way it's portrayed through like Hollywood and things like that. It's a whole different ball game. But since I have like my fair share in the community, I wanted to be able to bring about alternative safe zones for alternative lifestyles. So that's basically what we do. We have a friend who owns a dungeon, her and her wives, and that was another part of our event that was like a big hit here. So yeah, we just wanted to make sure that people know that it's not just a taboo thing. And we welcome people, we educate them, we want them to know what it's really about. It's a lifestyle. It's not just something people do for Halloween or something that people do for
A phase.
yeah.
Well, again, because something of that nature can also have trauma again on whether it's a child who witnesses this, or goes through something like that, or a teen, or even an adult who they thought they were in a relationship that was with someone who was educated about the BDSM nature, and they weren't, so they wound up getting traumatized mentally, physically, and all the icklies. And that's what we're trying to educate folks on, and it ties in with the energy, like, okay, you know what, this happened to you in this relationship with this guy or this girl, so let's fix those chakras, or let me go ahead and read into this and pull that negativity out, and then put in that positive energy and flip the script.
Yes.
And it's great that you are providing that education sort of segment of it, because it is, I think, glamorized in Hollywood, the movies that you see. And it's not that. It's a completely different, for people who are living the lifestyle and who have been entrenched in it, for a long time. I would think that sometimes that's a disservice, that what you see a lot of times commercially is a very it's not an accurate portrayal or picture of people who truly do live that lifestyle. So I'm sure that you guys have been able to educate and have even kind of had those misconceptions, right?
Yeah, correct. And it's the same thing for this, spiritual part of it. There's been so many movies, whether it's The Craft, or, just things, of that nature.
Even though I love that movie.
Even though we love the movie, but, it's all about being trendy, and it's okay now to call yourself a witch or a shaman or what have not. In my day, like even 10 years ago, oh, you see, you hear, you talk to dead people, or, the Sixth Sense, it's like you belong, in the mental hospital, la da da da. And I'm glad that it's a lot more open now, but there's still a lot of education that needs to go into it. This, you have to be real and authentic with your customers.
Yes.
They'll see right through you. It's not a trendy thing. It's one thing to get them in the door. It's true authenticity that keeps them in the door. Oh my God, did I just quote Debbie?
There's too many charlatans out there trying to make a fast buck
Yeah.
on spiritual gifts, and you either have the gift or you don't, if that makes sense. And we're here to help people, not to take people's money.
I've turned away readings. They're like, are you sure? It's like, oh yeah. It's like, if it's curiosity, don't worry. I don't need your money. It's not about that. And they went up at me like, yeah, it is. I'm just having fun. I'm like, no, then keep your money.
Well, because people are going to make decisions based on what we're actually telling them, because we're reading the energy of the person, the soul, and not just like what you see
Yeah.
on TikTok and
Yeah.
things like
It's like,
that.
girl, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Just be good. You're good.
It's not like for entertainment purposes, which is sometimes
Exactly.
I mean, we do say that, because of the nature of the beast, but really it's not for entertainment purposes.
Yeah, it's real lives.
Yeah. People are going to
Right.
make decisions based on what I say. They're going to get married. They're going to get divorced. They're going to have a kid. They're going to move away. They're going to quit a job. It's like the repercussions, the ripple effects are ginormous. And there's no way we're going to, play with people.
Yeah, and again, I think it's you want to be respected in your whatever field that you're in or what you're doing, and both of you have experience in the world that you're in. It's metaphysical, and it's important that people who are truly seeking out, a professional or an expert, they don't want to go to somebody who's doing like, some foolish, fun little game. That's not what it
Yeah.
is.
Like, what's the parlor trick this week? What can we do to get them in this week or
Yeah.
next week? It's like,
Yeah.
no, none of that.
Well, and you can tell that from what you put out. It is very authentic. So,
Thank
in terms of, having a business, and I've had friends that run businesses. It's a lot of work. It's, I'm sure you guys can say that there's a lot that goes into what you do every day. But what advice would you have to other business owners out there that are either looking to grow or maybe start their own business, like you did during pandemic? What advice would you have to just start moving along in that direction?
Well, first and foremost, and again, I take it from Deb, just be real, be authentic. I mean, this is what you want to do for, like, this is your career. This is your life. I may have other things that I love to do as well, like act and sing and blah blah blah. But I also know the truth of it. Like, I'm not gonna do sing and dance, to go and cut a record deal. I'm gonna do it at my local theater or what have you, because that's what I want to do. Know that this is what you want to do, and it's a 24-hour thing. It's your baby. It is your baby. um it never, you have to keep on feeding it. You have to keep coming up with creative ideas. um there's a lot to it. We work 24/7 almost. We're at home, on social media. We're creating flyers, we're creating videos, we're
Promotions.
editing, we're going out in the community, and we're supporting other companies, whether they're a drag company or they're a theater company. We're out there, to show support. And if we get a shout out, great, but that's not what we're there for. But it helps, just make sure that this is what you want to be doing, because
Yes. Don't just go with like a trend just because it's popular now, like because trends only last for so long. So like get into a business that you're going to be comfortable with forever, because you want to be doing that forever.